Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Tourismus Namibia, where we bring you topics, destinations, and obviously an interesting interview if we can. And I think this week we've got a couple of interesting snippets for you. My name is Frank Steffen. I'm the editor of Allgemeine Zeitung and obviously also responsible for Tourismus Namibia. Welcome to the show, and like I said, we hope to entertain you for the next half an hour or so. So first up, we've got topics, but before we go to those various items that I've pulled out for this week, let's just quickly have a peek at the marketplace. Yeah, welcome back. And first up, we've got a bit of news about FINATA. FINATA is the umbrella association for all the various tourism organizations such as NAFA, CARAN, ETEA, TAN, HAN, TASA, ANTA, and NATH. So this is obviously, as you can see from their logo already, this is really all about hospitality industry, tours, hunting association, vehicles, everything that has to do with the tourism thingy. And they had a special meeting this past a bit more than a week ago. And they've brought out a declaration where the member associations or organizations were all present. And during this meeting, these associations had the opportunity to express their concerns and recommendations. This is after, for some time, there was some disagreement on how tourism should be run. I think the whole COVID situation has brought out a couple of issues and challenges. And so the associations not only reaffirmed their commitment to FINATA chairwoman or chairlady Netumbo Nashandi, but they also accept that FINATA is the umbrella organization which will serve ultimately as the voice of tourism. And I quote from their report, it is where they say, "It is clear that not all companies active in the Namibian tourism sector are members of an association, but the problems and challenges remain the same for everyone. And the efforts and work of FINATA and the member associations are ultimately beneficial for all tourism players." So, therefore, FINATA represents diversity in the Namibian tourism sector, supports belonging, and wants to be a unified voice. So this came especially to the fore after there had been previous attacks on these various associations and organizations. And so they specifically distanced themselves from the Namibia Travel and Tourism Forum, which is an organization that was established by a gentleman by the name of Rupesh Soni. Some of you might remember that we had him on the show before. But they reckon that he's one of the people that has caused enormous damage locally and internationally to the image of Namibian tourism. So just to get you up to date again, this gentleman, Rupesh Soni, actually is the person that was questioned a while ago because the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism simply accepted that he will be the sole person sort of bringing over the image of Namibia at the Dubai Expo. And some people felt that that should have been the task of the Namibia Tourism Board. And clearly there has been a direct channel between Mr. Soni and the ministry, which most people do not think is in order because there was no such a public offer. Now, the fact that it might be free of charge still doesn't change the fact that NTB would have done it free of charge as well, and that the tourism sector as such has to pay its monthly dues over to NTB, so that the NTB is the joint denominator between government and the tourism sector. Speaking of Dubai Expo, I've brought out a photo or two for you. The Dubai Expo actually started yesterday evening, and the expo stuck to its original name, Dubai Expo 2020, as it was supposed to be held in 2020. And it started on Thursday evening, if I'm right, and it will remain an ongoing expo for 6 months, ending in March 2022. So Dubai was successful in its bid on 27 November 2013, and it resulted in a national holiday being declared for all educational institutions across the country. The theme of this first ever World Expo to be held in the Middle East, Africa and or South Asia is connecting minds and creating the future. So it aims at representing all countries and cultures, and the organizers reckon that if travel is the best teacher in life, then Expo 2020 is the perfect place to be educated. And all in all, 191 countries will take part, and it's more than there's ever been in the history of the expos. And yeah, they reckon they will do plenty of good for the international community. It's, as they say, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, a feast for all your senses, and an opportunity for us all to come together today to reimagine the world of tomorrow. As we said last week, Namibia is there too. You will remember that I had Priska Anyolo here as a guest in the studio, and we spoke a little about her representing Namibia on that expo for the next 6 months. And then finally today, GCF, that's the Giraffe Conservation Fund, they've sent out a little update this week telling us more about these animals. And the interesting part is they reported on the sightings of two what they call dwarf giraffes in Namibia and Uganda. And they call them Nigel and Gimli. And they're the first ever dwarf giraffe spotted in the wild, so they're quite interesting. And so, yeah, as they said, we are excited to announce that Nigel and Gimli are now featured in the Guinness World Records 2022 book. Have a look at the little video that we copied from their site. Yeah, if you go onto their internet site, you will always find more news. And if you're similar to me, then you will actually ask them for their newsletter, which comes out at least once a month. So they always have interesting snippets about these animals, which, contrary to belief, are actually slowly but surely becoming endangered in Africa. Not so much in Namibia, but in Africa certainly. Right, those were our topics for today. Nice and easy ones this week, good to know. Up next, we've got destinations. Welcome back, and as I said, now it's time for destinations. This is obviously the place where we try and give you a few holiday ideas, different sights and sounds that you might want to experience. And up first, we've got the Swakopmund Beach Lodge. Now, the lodge is further to the north, if you look at it. I indicated it there with a red spot. So it's as you drive over towards Henty's Bay, on the left-hand side, that's where mile 4 and those places were. So it's right on the beach, and as they say on the internet site, they say it's one of the few accommodation establishments in Swakopmund that are situated right on the beach. As you can see here, the way actually leads down to the beach, and this is obviously taken from the beach inwards. And as the owners write on the internet page, you can enjoy the magnificent view of the sea from each room, listen to the restless waves and smell the fresh sea breeze. So the lodge is situated a mere 5 kilometers from the center of town, with more than enough space to dream, relax, or to take leisurely walks along the beach. It features standard family rooms. It has twin rooms and luxury rooms in different configurations, creating the ideal home away from home, as they say. And obviously targeting travelers, families, corporate travelers, everything that wants to stay there and have a good time. Its signature restaurant, the Wreck, is situated on the 2nd floor, offering an uninterrupted view towards the sea. So Erwin Leuschner, my colleague of Allgemeine Zeitung, he this week presents this beach lodge as well as its restaurant, the Wreck, having spoken to Andre van Rensbach.
Hi Andre, you are the owner of this establishment. What is this?
Hi Erwin, good afternoon and welcome. Currently we are in the Wreck, which is the signature restaurant of Beach Lodge. We've been here, the Wreck is started, we opened it in 2008. Beach Lodge started in 1999, so we've been here for quite some time.
Indeed. How long have you been part of the Beach Lodge?
Since 2000.
2000, okay. And what makes the Beach Lodge unique in Swakopmund?
I think the main thing would be that it's one of the only, probably the only establishment that is really right on the beach, where you want to be if you come to the coast.
Of course, and also the shape.
The shape is, yes, the shape I think is pretty unique.
Yes, and that's probably also where the name comes from, the Wreck. It's shaped like a ship.
That's correct, yeah. We, when we started with the lodge, we tried to use all these sort of marine environments. You know, the names of all our rooms they're all named after shipwrecks or ships that stranded on the Namibian coast or sank on the coast. And when we then decided to open the restaurant, we thought, you know, what would we do? And we started thinking of the breach maybe and things like that, but then we decided on that.
I see, okay. And tell me a bit about the restaurant itself. Is it the only really proper fine dining restaurant in Swakopmund? I will guess so.
I think fine dining is maybe not correct. I would rather say elegant dining.
Elegant dining, yeah. Okay. But it definitely is one of the more upper class services yes. It has to offer.
That's correct.
And tell me about the accommodation establishment that forms part of the Beach Lodge. How many rooms do you have and what kind of rooms are they?
Beach Lodge has got 18 rooms. It's a mix of standard rooms, luxury rooms, double rooms and family rooms. So we cater for the whole market.
Everybody, I see. And coming back to the restaurant, sorry, I'm just also thinking about this beautiful view we have behind us. This beach is called Pebbles Beach because of the rocks.
That's correct.
And it's also well known for the surface here. And coming back to that, I noticed that you also started a coffee shop down below called Surface Corner.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Last year, you know, during the COVID pandemic, was very quiet. Restaurants were closed. There were very few people staying because due to the restrictions there were very little time where people could actually stay or were allowed to stay. Nobody could travel, and we were looking for an additional means of generating some income. And we thought, okay, maybe the surfers have always been here, and you know, we provided services to them, and we decided to take one of our rooms, because we actually have 19 rooms. So we took one room, took everything inside out, put up a counter and started the coffee shop.
I see.
It slowly grew from that, and then we started with something to eat, you know, simple like breadsins, and now we do fish and chips and all kinds of things.
Okay, so it's like
So it's become a very popular takeaway coffee shop.
Talking about COVID, we probably don't want to talk about COVID, but I guess we have to. The impact was immense over every sector. Tourism, of course, the hardest hit sector. I don't want to go into detail of the impact, but what do you think is a way forward? Of course, it's difficult to say. Nobody in the world really knows, but
No.
I guess staying positive is the best way.
Yeah, it is very tough to stay positive. The effects have been disastrous also for us. We were fortunate that our business model is very conservative, so we saved a bit of funds, and we had a bit of funds to sort of carry us, but the shareholders had to put in funds to keep us afloat. We lost very few staff, only 3 staff members during the whole pandemic. So yeah, we're all here. I think the most difficult thing is the uncertainty that you can't really plan. I think tourism has always been a mind game. You know, a lot of guesstimates are used on a daily basis because you have to sort of guess what your occupancy will be next year. You know, that type of thing. And you get pretty good at it after a while. I mean, we've been here for 20 years, so we were pretty good at it. But now it's very difficult to guess because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
But your gut feeling, do you think it will start picking up to the 2019 levels again soon? Maybe?
I doubt that we will see those levels quickly and soon. It's definitely picking up slowly. I think there's a big demand. People want to travel because they've been restricted for so long. And I'm referring to overseas people from Europe especially. So the demand is there, but there's still too much uncertainty. If you look at Australia, no one can travel. They don't know when the borders will be open for them. And it's those, there are people who are prepared to take the risk and travel, and others are more careful. They don't want to take that risk. So I think it's a very gradual increase in numbers.
Is there anything else you would like to share with our viewers concerning your establishment or tourism in general, maybe?
I think it's a time where tourism should all stand together, and unfortunately there's been some waves, I think you're probably aware of it, where there's some issues that have been raised, and it's very unfortunate because it's a difficult time, and if we don't all hold hands and work together, then we're not going to be able to get out of the mess that we are in. The local tourism, I mean, if it hasn't been for local tourism, I think more than half of Swakopmund wouldn't have been here still. That helped tremendously, and we're extremely grateful for that. But unfortunately, we also need the real tourist from abroad.
Yes. Money to come in.
The money to come in and to start, generating and building the economy. That's the main thing.
Well, thank you very much, Andre van Rensburg.
It's a pleasure.
Beach Lodge.
Pleasure.
Yeah, such a nice lodge, and I truly hope and that things will start picking up again. I heard that, or not heard, we actually reported about it this week, that they expect in the near future more than 20 ships, passenger liners, to again stop at Walfish Bay, and I can only hope that some of those ships will spend more than just one day at our coast, and in that way maybe bring us some tourists who would like to visit the areas around Swakopmund and Walfish Bay, and maybe even stay a night in the various hotels that we have at the coast, because as you can see, it's a very nice place to stay at. Okay, and then we've got another item for you. It is the Farmhouse Restaurant and Guesthouse. And this one, any Namibian will probably know exactly what I'm talking of. So as you drive into Uchu, you obviously have to turn left as you go onwards towards Etosha. And then in the middle, just across from the bakery, I would say, you've also got this little farmhouse restaurant. I've stopped there often already, and many people will know her name is Anastasia Gabatula, but she's actually known as Ansta. That's how everybody knows her in Uchu. They know her well. This is a photo I still took a couple of years back. This one was taken by Ester Kamati, because she visited Uchu and dropped by the Farmhouse Restaurant, where she met up with Ansta, and who shared some of the news in terms of what she has to offer, and as well as developments that are underway. So this includes the fact that she wants to add 20 rooms that are being built at the establishment right now. But have a look yourself.
Show you around. Let's take a tour. This is the parking area. You can sit outside. This is the beautiful setting. Okay, those are the public toilets. The gardener and the security is waiting. Anybody coming, he can still serve you guys. It's the outside setting. That's the playground for the kids. That's the front entrance from the guest house, as well as the restaurant is coming soon. This will be the restaurant area, as well as the shop, the kiosks, and the kitchen is just at the back side. The big kitchen is waiting for you guys to serve you guys the best cakes. And everybody has a space to move around and to prepare the meals. Let me show you also the rooms quickly, so you can take a snap from how our rooms are looking like. Will come, because some of the clients who are coming for lunch, they like to buy, so we are saving them and selling some curious stock to them also. which is available.
Yeah, those of you who know Ansta, that's exactly how she is. And by the way, she speaks perfect German as well. And like I said, I've been there a number of times, and I can only tell you it's a nice place to visit. And she's always bubbling over with news and interesting snippets about the area. Ansta is one of those people who's very proud of staying in Uchu, and she loves the town, she loves the people, so she's pretty much involved in always promoting the whole area. So yeah, if you stop at Uchu next time, have a quick stop there. If you don't, maybe you even want to stay over for a night, it's an ideal destination. Those were our destinations for today. Up next, we've got To the Point. Welcome back. I don't really know even where to start because I've deliberately not prepared for this part of the show so that you can literally hear it as it is and how I experienced it. So this week I drove down to Leonardville. This was after there were a number of public gatherings where the uranium mining was discussed. And there's a Russian outfit that is interested in leaching uranium out at Leonardville. And the process is basically that you literally bore down holes. And what is not being spoken about is that once those holes exist, they are properly joined and opened up so that the water can properly flow through. And interesting enough, once again, similar to Recon Africa, we're talking fracking, which needs to be done for that sort of basic mining principle. So to cut the story short, Dr. Roy Miller, who was also one of the people that is very much against the whole Recon Africa oil exploration up in the Kavango, especially because he's a person that has worked for a long time with water in Namibia. He made it simple when he spoke to me, because I spoke to him afterwards, and he said, Frank, this is very simple. He says, Recon Africa by comparison is nothing. He says, but in this case, people will drill down into the drinking water of these people and then put in solutions so that they can literally pump out the liquefied nuclear product, or not nuclear, uranium product from underneath. He says there is no way in which you can do that without ensuring that this water will become basically undrinkable. So just have a look. I had a little intro video that I prepared for you there. Yeah, it was just to give you a quick idea of how the people gathered, and you can hear from the voices, people were really discussing and arguing, and you could see they were not impressed. Right in the beginning of the video, you saw a couple of the man that you saw in front there was Mr. Boropkin. So anyway, and they later on explained how the process worked more or less. There was a gentleman, I'm sorry, I didn't catch his surname, it was Aldo, and he basically explained how they will put water in and how they extract the solution, or how they will actually leach the uranium ore from down there.
of the dynamic movement of the water. So what happens, we pump out that solution until we finish with our target reserve that we calculated, and then we pump it up to the processor.
It's pumped into production wells that carry it back to the surface. The impregnated solution is then pumped to an extraction facility. Here, the solution passes through ion exchange columns loaded with the uranium.
Okay, good. So here, what happens is that the solution is then again divided for us to extract the uranium, and then the solution goes back again to repeat the cycle. And bear in mind, please, what we put in is what we are supposed to put out in terms of the solution. That's what even is going to help us, that there's no leakage and we haven't lost anything in the ground. Good.
Selective resin, the barren solution, is separated for reuse. The resin enters a stripping facility where uranium is separated using ammonium nitrate. The uranium-rich solution is loaded into tanks for precipitation. The resultant yellow cake product, consisting of about 40% uranium, will be shipped for final processing and refining.
The reason why I included that clip is quite simply that, number one, they explained it, but what became very clear over time is that they were not very well prepared, because quite a number of the farmers who are there, well, clearly some of them are engineers themselves and very wizened up in terms of technology. The one person actually came from a mining background himself, and so they were very determined to prove that these guys had it the wrong way around, so much so that there was a farmer, a lady by the name of Victoria Shikongo. She ultimately said, why don't you first go home, prepare properly, and bring proper answers? Because time and again you could find that there was half and half an argument, is this right or is that right? And so people weren't impressed with how this whole thing was brought over. But coming back to the video, why I showed that one is, in that presentation, all the time they spoke about, but there's nothing to fear, there's only 4 holes. But if you look properly, once it becomes productive, we're not talking 4 holes anymore. We're talking hundreds of holes. And the video and other videos showed time and again that the product that comes out is expected to be 80%. But like Dr. Roy Miller asked them, what about the other 20%? What happens to that? Other people then started becoming quite bullish about it, because they also wanted to know what really happens here. What happens to the rest? And it ultimately came to a point where the one engineer admitted that in Kazakhstan, where they do most of their business, they literally find that the groundwater is not for human consumption for 30 years. And if you looked at plenty of the other videos and images that they showed in between, you could time and again see that once these guys are going, what is being left is a desert, a proper desert. And so they had these guys really in a knot there. Ms. Shikongo actually told them, listen, this is a kindergarten. I mean, she hasn't seen something like that. So up next was, what was also interesting was there was a farmer, I only caught his surname, it was Mr. Labuskaghni, and he questioned the fact whether the EPLs are actually still valid. We're talking of EPL 4654 and EPL 4655. And they actually admitted that currently those things have been resubmitted. But here comes the clue again. The minister has already indicated that it won't be a problem. They're likely to get that. And it shows that these systems we have in our country do not work properly, because it shouldn't be the minister's decision. It should be there are ample people who go through the motions. But have a look at this little conversation here.
On this stage, our pilot test is a part of exploration license. But if results will be good after maybe 6, 7, 8 years, when we finish our exploration work, we'll start to construct plant. And after that, we will have a mining license. Before that, it will be an according exploration license.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer, but I must just point it out, on the two EPLs that we discussed, this is now excluding ECC, this is just a discussion with you. Those two EPLs were already in your hands for 10 years. And now they expired in May this year, and they currently submitted for renewal. Are you quite sure that it will be renewed, or?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yes, our two license, these two licenses are expired, but we sent all necessary documentation to the ministry, and now we had the email from the ministry that this license will be renewed.
Okay. I raise my
and for additional, we will have an environmental clearance certificate already for these two licenses.
Yeah, for the EPLs.
Yeah, for the EPLs.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and the gentleman that you see standing there is Stefan Besuidenhout, and he's obviously the person who now needs to do the environmental impact assessment. And you could clearly see he was trying his best to have a proper discussion going and to bring in the information. And I think when walking away from there, I think he must have felt quite disheartened, because there was no trust, none whatsoever. Because many of these farmers made it very clear that during the first exploration phase, where they literally just drilled holes and took samples, most of the time they could not get hold of the people of the company if they had a problem. One farmer even said that his borehole actually picked up oil through that process, a mere 300 meters away from where they drilled their exploration hole. So people are not happy at all, and like I said earlier, there were also a couple of experts, people who know this type of work. And here's another one where you can see Mr. Wolfgang Teichert. He's of the Farm Bloemvelde. Just remember that all of these farms, by the way, what you see here is the entrance to Farm Tripoli in the background now, this photo. Well, I should show to this side. There it says Farm Tripoli. That is where the first test will be done. I drove past it, made the photo quickly. And but all of these farmers are sitting on very, very rare artesian water in that area. That's why Leonardville and Stampriet and all those farmers are very successful in producing crop. And so Wolfgang Teichert clearly made it quite clear that he doesn't look eye to eye with these guys from Russia.
Direct met die cliënte praat, gaan ek in Engels praat. My name is Wolfie Teichert, and I'm here on behalf of the Bloemvelde Farmers Association. First thing, the clearance certificate for the exploration, plus conditions. Can we have a copy of that? Especially the conditions attached to the clearance certificate. Okay, that's the first question. Okay, an answer first.
Of course, I think we can send to you copy, but I need give me a time to do this copy, and I think yes, it's possible.
Okay, thank you. Then the second question is a small tick that the next questions will all be technical. It was mentioned that the hole, the production hole, will be drilled 140 meters deep. Can I then assume that the ore body is mainly situated at 140 meters?
Our ore body depth from 100 meters from the surface to 150 meters.
Okay, so
it depends which area, and more or less 100 to 150.
Okay. So that is right in the artesian water, the Stamford artesian basin, which is under very high pressure, moving into all directions because it's a porous. Okay. Then the monitoring boreholes. I've not heard about any monitoring boreholes that will be drilled for this pilot plant.
Yeah, well, I passed this question to Alde, and he explained all technical issues. And of course, we will drill monitoring holes.
Okay, good. Just to add on that, of course, we do have. Sim, alguns dias estão. Okay, good. Just to answer your question, right? So, let's say we have the 4 holes, as we said, and the one in the middle. It's not like we drill this anywhere. We need to understand the elevation of that area, how the aquifer is moving, and then according to that, it helps us on where we can put our monitoring boreholes. In this case, it could be somewhere as close as, let's say, 10 meters to like 100 meters. In any direction. But on top of this already, we have monitoring holes that are existing, that we are carrying out hydrological information for us to understand the static and the dynamics of the levels. And this goes as in the constituency in Alminus. We did that when we are moving all the way back to Leonardville. We have a lot of them in Alabama, we have a lot of them in Tripoli, one in San Remo and 2 in Boniville as we speak. But these, of course, as well, they will still continue. And added to this, we need to collect water to understand the baseline of where we're starting, so that we would be monitoring that as well, to understand whether are we affecting any area within the aquifers as well.
Yeah, and it was not long after this that things became really heated up at one stage, because they weren't quite sure whether they would press the water down. If I'm saying water, it's really a chemical solution with water. They weren't quite sure would they press it down with more or less 5 bar or 6 bar. Then suddenly they reckoned it would be 4 bar, because they realized that these farmers were getting really upset about the fact that 6 bar was, to their mind, too strong. And like some of those farmers pointed out, if you press water down with that pressure, even the clay layer, which is supposed to, at the bottom, make sure that the solution doesn't intrude into the groundwater further below, they reckon, nope, even that clay layer won't be able to hold that sort of pressure. And then it became very funny, because then they suddenly decided, yeah, no, but we're pressing it down with 6 bar, but when it reaches the bottom, it might only have 2. And then you really saw the engineers getting very upset there, those who understood I mean, these guys have been farming for years and years. A couple of them have been telling these people how long they have been farming in that area. And like the one says, I've been farming here for 50 years, so I reckon I've got more experience about this area than you guys with your 40 years of mining might have in Kazakhstan. So I think this Headspring Investments, they still have a long way to go. But at the same time, judging from what I heard there, I think it's a really, really bad idea. And it comes back down to what we see in the Kavango with Recon Africa, where people reckon that if they're busy down there at the bottom, it has no impact on what is on top. And it does. So bad news, really, and I can't say much about it, but my personal opinion is that the government must now start seriously reconsider where are we going with all of these developments. Are we really prepared to do damage to our country on the long term so that our children and their children don't have a future here anymore? It really becomes a bit of an issue for me. Anyway, sad to end the show today with an update about that, but I thought it is important because even you as tourists have the right to an opinion and take part in this and make your voice heard, because that's apparently the only way that our government listens to it. It needs many voices and not only one single one such as mine or a few farmers in Leonardville. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Nevertheless, even if it is a bad news on the last part, and trust that I will see you again next week. Until then, remain healthy, look after yourself, and get vaccinated. Until next week. Bye.